Well, welcome to the second half. The first talk will be given by Colin Ribas on indexed categories of tree automata.
So, hello everyone. So the first title was the 5 web categories of tree automata. Actually, there is no really, I will not really speak about the 5 web aspect, maybe a bit about indexing, but it will play a secondary role in the talk. So think of categories of tree automata. So I'm interested in automata on infinite trees. So for the whole talk, fix a finite non-empty set D of tree direction. So the infinite trees will be maps from D star to some alphabet. So the alphabet will vary, but the set of tree direction is fixed. So over infinite trees, we have the second order monadic logic, which has, so you have all Boolean connective and quantification over arbitrary sets of tree position. So a set of tree position is just a map from D star to 2. So this logic is decidable. This is one of the celebrated Rabin's theorem. How do we know how to decide this logic? Essentially by translating formula to finite state automata running on infinite trees. So the translation is non-elementary. And so there have been various reformulation of the proof of Rabin. And current settings works on use infinite games. So acceptance of automata in infinite trees are modeled using infinite games, and this allows a very simple treatment of complementation. So there are different families of automata that we can use to speak about MSO infinite trees, and one way to perform the translation of MSO to automata, formula to automata, is to use alternating automata. So with alternating automata, the complementation operation is linear. It's relatively easy as soon as you assume the determinacy of the corresponding infinite games. And so it's easy also to implement the conjunction or disjunction. So we can have a linear construction for Boolean operation, but then in order to interpret existential quantification, one has to translate alternating automata to non-deterministic automata, and this is an exponential construction, which is called when speaking about automata in infinite trees, one called of simulation of alternating automata by non-deterministic one. So, for instance, take very simple alphabet with 2 letters, A and B, and very simple MSO property is that of trees which have a path which has infinitely many occurrences of the letter A. So there is a path with infinitely many occurrences of A. This is a very simple example of an MSO property. So what I am interested here is to have a kind of categorical approach to tree automata. And so the idea is to build category where objects are automata, or automata instantiated with some trees. And it's very important, and that is the indexing aspect of the talk, that the trees are allowed to have some input. So one way to have trees with input is to consider trees labeled by function, let's say from a finite set gamma to a finite set sigma. And morphism between such automata instantiated with trees will be strategies in the sense of game semantics. I will explain this later on. Between acceptance game for those automata over the trees, the acceptance games are a bit generalized because we take into account the fact that the trees have some input. And the motivation of this model is to interpret a kind of a deduction system for automata with kind of obvious connectives. So what do we have? We have a symmetric monoidal closed structure. So this is this arrow, this lollipop arrow represents the closed structure for a monoidal product, which is not Cartesian. And there is an indexed or fibrate structure with a notion of substitution and existential and universal quantification. In this system, there is some more interesting remark. So this provides a categorical model. So for a symmetric monoidal structure and substitution quantification, meaning that we have a deduction system, we have an interpretation of the deduction system which is compatible with cut elimination. And besides, if one restricts to the level of purely the deduction rule, then the simulation construction, simulating an alternating automaton by a non-deterministic one, this construction can be done in such a way that it satisfies the deduction rule of the exponential modality of intuitionistic linear logic. And in some sense, the categorical model provides a form of realizability semantics for automata. So if we have a strategy which witnesses that A implies B, then this strategy will effectively witness the fact that the language of A is included into the language of B. And there is a kind of weak completeness result is that for two arbitrary automaton A and B on the same alphabet, if the language of A is included in the language of B, then I get a realizer from the non-determinized version of A to this automaton. And this automaton is obtained as follows. I take B, complement it in the sense of alternating automaton, take the bang of it, so the non-deterministic automaton corresponding to B, and then complement it linearly. Okay, so we'll not go into the details, so I will try to be a bit slow on the first two items, which represent the basic ingredient of this work. And if I have time, I will speak about more precisely about deduction rule and this interpretation of the exponential modality. But maybe I will skip that. So automata on games. So let's go back to what is an infinite DRE tree. It's a map from D star to sigma. And alternating automaton, the usual notion can be presented as follows. So there is a set of state Q, an initial state, and a transition function which takes a state and an input character to something which lives in the free distributive lattice over Q times T. I will be a bit more explicit later on. And the last component is given by an acceptance condition. And there are different variants which may be which might be considered. The most general interesting one, I think, is when the acceptance condition is a Borel set, because then automata can be complemented by a determinacy of games. But in this talk, I will focus on a very restricted subcase of it, where the acceptance condition is given by an omega regular set. And in this setting, we have the automata the same expressive power than MSO on infinite trees. So, alternating tree automaton, the transition function takes a state and input character to something which lives in the free distributive lattice over Q times D, and so it is in the double power set. And the transition is read as follows. So the first power set is a form of a disjunction, and the second power set is a form of the conjunction. So the expression in the free distributive lattice are just put in a disjunctive normal form. So how this automaton run is best modeled, is easily modeled using games. And in these games, essentially, you have two players who alternate. So the proponent P, which corresponds to, in this kind of games, to the player Eloise, the positive player. So P is a notion from game semantics. It's the terminology from game semantics, but in the settings of infinite games, one usually prefers speak about Eloise. And the conjunction is played by the opponent O, or Abelard, which is the negative player. So in my setting, in what I present here, so there are different aspects. There is the indexed aspect and the categorical aspect, but the automaton that I used here are specially designed in order to have in that setting a monoidal closed category. And in order to do this, I slightly modified the usual notion of automaton. So there is still a finite state of state, an initial state, and then there are two sets that are usually called U and X, where U represents the move of the proponent or of Eloise, and X represents the move of the opponent and or Abelard. So U and X are assumed to be non-empty and finite. And then the transition function reads as follows. So it takes state and input character, then some p move, and then some o move, and then to each trade direction it gives the next state. So if we refer to that, where to this kind of disjunctive form, the games generated by this automaton are as follows. So the proponent chooses in U, and then the opponent has two choices to make, a choice in X and a choice of a trade direction. And then the transition function gives the state where we go. Okay, so this is essentially, it's very similar to that original definition, and the goal of this modification is to have the closed structure. So a trivial example of an automaton, it is an automaton which is a unit automaton, monoidal unit automaton, with just one state, which so one is a single subset, which is initial, and p move on there is just one p move, just one o move. The transition function is obvious, and all the infinite sequence of states, or the unique infinite sequence of state, is accepting. So this is basic data that I will work with in the rest of the talk. Then not directly from them, but based on that, I consider the following categories of games. So those categories have as objects triples. So the first two components of the triples is a set of moves. So there is a set U of a P move in red, a set X of O move in blue, and there is a winning condition, which I assume in this talk to be omega regular. And this winning condition speaks about infinite plays in the game, and actually infinite plays in the game are augmented with input characters and three directions. So from the set of p move U, I will consider games where as p move there will be U as well as sigma input characters, and from the set of op move X in the game there will be X as set as well as a three direction as a move for the opponent. And then the morphism are strategies in something which is easily described as a restriction of the linear arrow of those two games seen as what is called simple games in game semantics. And concretely, the games are played are follows. So there are, if I I have a game from A to B, and so moves are played in each component. So either the component of A or the component of B. So the rule of the game are as follows. Opponent always begin in the left component by playing a move, so which should be made of an input character and P move. Then proponent has to answer to this move in the component of B by playing the same input character as proposed by the opponent and some P move of the game B. Then the opponent answers in the right component by proposing a three direction, and the proponent goes answer for that in the first component by playing the same three direction. And then the game is infinite, so opponent restarts, and this continues forever. So there is a notion of strategies. Those strategies form a category, so there are identities and composition. I assume the strategy to be total, so there should answer to every possible move, to every possible legal move. And winning in the sense that if I take an infinite play in that game, the rule of the game imposes the fact that both projections of the play are infinite, and strategy, a proponent strategy, will be winning if the projection on B, the right projection, is winning as soon as the left projection is winning. So, some remarks. So, in the description of games, I write U in red because it's the set of P move, and X in blue because it's in the set of O move. But when I built the implication game, actually the polarity of move of the left component are reversed, because it's his opponent who has to play first in the left component. So actually, color-wise, one has to think as follows, so that in A implies B, the P move of A becomes O move, and the O move of A becomes P move. So the colors here are reversed. So the second constraint is that if I take what is called the P play, so a play where the proponent has played last, then if I take the two projections of the play, so the one in A and the one in B, then in those two projections, when I consider only the input characters and the three directions which have been played, then they must agree, they must be the same. And so that's why P has to play the same input character as proposed by O, and here has to put the same three direction as proposed by O. So actually the real color of the game will be as follows, namely that P only has this choice here. And so last remark, since all sets involved here are assumed to be non-empty, the game has no finite maximal play. So all maximal play are necessarily infinite, and so the strategy is necessarily infinite. The total strategy is necessarily infinite. So two examples based on that. So the first one is how do we recover the usual acceptance games of tree automaton. So let's consider a tree over sigma and an automaton over sigma. So from this here on is automaton over sigma, I generate a game over 1. So in those categories, for the whole category SAG sigma, the alphabet sigma is fixed, so this sigma is fixed for the whole category. And if I just take a usual input tree, I obtain an object in the category over 1. Okay, and the game which is produced has the same U and the same X as the automaton, and its winning condition is generated from the transition function iterated along the input trees and the acceptance condition of the automaton. Then in this setting, I can look at what are the morphisms from my unit automaton, the first example that I gave, to a game of this form. So what should happen? So in a game over 1, so the move corresponding to the input character are reduced to the bullet, because decided that 1 is a singleton bullet. The unit automaton has just bullet as O move, as P move. So here, actually, the opponent has no choice of what to play. Then proponent plays P move of A, but the input character is fixed. Opponent answers by a three direction and a no move, and proponent is forced to play the same three direction. So what I have here, actually, the only part which is relevant is the right part, and this is exactly an acceptance game of an automaton over a tree. And so I can define it. I can define the language of an automaton, so the set of tree recognized by an automaton, as a set of tree for which proponent has a winning strategy in the game from the unit. So second example, which is, now it's a generalization of acceptance game. So I consider an automaton just by itself over sigma, and it generates a game, similarly as before, where the prop move and the op move of the game are given by those of the automaton. And now this time the automaton is over sigma, and the game lives among the games over sigma, meaning that infinite plays now have input characters. And so by simply iterating the transition function of the automaton over an infinite sequence like this, by definition of the transition function, I produce an infinite sequence which can be accepting or rejecting, and this defines the winning plays of the game. And the important point is that since I am over sigma, there is all the information here to define the acceptance condition, the winning condition from the acceptance condition alone. And now if I look at what is a game from A to B in such setting, then this is a game which is very similar to the first game that I've shown before. And in this setting, what I have is that if a proponent has a winning strategy from A to B, which I write like this, then the language of A is included in the language of B. And actually what happens is that a winning strategy on this game, a winning proponent strategy on this game, when I can compose it with a strategy witnessing acceptance of some trees by A, and this will produce, because of the categorical machinery, a strategy witnessing acceptance by the automaton B. So actually the two examples that I've shown can be generalized in one example where I assume that my tree have some input. So a way to have a tree with input is to have a tree labeled with function. And now if I have an automaton over sigma here and a tree whose output is sigma, then I generate a game which is over gamma, which is the input type of the tree. And the game is generated exactly as the former one, so the up move and prop move come from the automaton. And now the winning condition is generated by iterating the transition function from infinite play and the tree, and the input character in gamma are transmitted to the trees, which are transmitted then to the transition function. So the input, from the input, the tree T compute the output character, which will be used by the transition function. And so, to come back to the first example, actually, if I just want to have a sigma labeled trees, then it is the same as having tree maps in this sense from 1 to sigma. Okay? And then the game that I've presented first just corresponds to this game for this particular case where there is no input character. There is just one input character. And for the second example, which was an automata just alone by itself, actually the same as taking the identity map over sigma. Which is the identity function, takes an arbitrary position to the identity function. So this is a basic categorical setting, and now I will present some categorical structure it has. So it has a monoidal structure, which is very simple. It's component-wise. So the product of two games, I take the Cartesian products for the P move, the Cartesian products for the O move, and then I combine accordingly in a conjunctive way the winning condition. So it has a unit that we have already seen. And this leads to a monoid structure, monoidal structure on automata. So from the point of view of automata, this monoidal structure is just taking the direct product of automata. So it has a unit that we have already seen also. And besides the pure monoidal structure, there are, so this modular structure is not Cartesian in general, but still we have a non-canonical projection. So I can go from A tensor B to A. So because opponent proposes an input character that I will copy, it's not a problem. And then it proposes a pair of prop move in A and B, and I just project, take the element corresponding to the prop move in A. And then opponent continues here in A, and now I can copy its move to the up move of A, and this is where the projection is not canonical. I have to make a choice of an up move in B, and since the up move are assumed to be non-empty, I can always make a choice, but there is no reason that this choice has no particular reason. And so, as one expects, the language computed by taking the modular product of automata is the intersection of language. Okay? And besides, it plays a role later on that, so we are not Cartesian, but for a non-deterministic automata, this monoidal product is Cartesian. So what is a non-deterministic automaton? In my setting, this setting, a non-deterministic automaton is an automaton where the set of, where there is just one up move. So in that setting, I can have a contraction map, and the contraction map proceeds as follows. So O propose input character and a prop move, and so I just have to duplicate that prop move. And then the opponent answers by some three directions that I can copy. And the important point is that the opponent has no choice here as op move in A, so I can copy back whatever I want. And I have no choice also. In general, such strategy does not exist if the automaton A is not non-deterministic, because opponent here can play two different moves, and in this case, I have no reason to be able to make a good choice here. But for non-deterministic automata, this monoidal product turns out to be Cartesian. Good.
We have 4 minutes left.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I will finish on this. Okay. And this precise definition automata is designed so that there is a monoidal closed structure that I will skip. Which is based, actually, is essentially based on dialectica. On dialectica's construction. So, for instance, what we have with that is that we have seen that there is a projection, and from the projection, we can, by monoidal closure, have a morphism from A to B implies A. So, in particular, the language of A is always included in the language of B implies A. Also, if I have B tensored with B implies A, I can get A, which gives also this part of the inclusion. And there is a falsity automaton which accepts no trees and which allows to have a complementation construction, which is equivalent to a linear complementation construction. So substitution and quantification, and I will finish, I think, with that. So if I have a tree with input, actually this gives a functor between, so if my tree goes from gamma to sigma, my tree gives a functor from the games over sigma to the games over gamma. And so in particular, if I have a projection from sigma gamma to sigma, so the first projection, it gives what is called a weakening functor from games over sigma to games over sigma and gamma. And in this setting, there are usual categorical quantification provided by a left and right adjoint to a weakening. So the existential quantification, the coproduct, if I do the existential quantification over gamma, so I started from something from sigma times gamma and arrive in sigma, then I just give the set of, I just give gamma as a prop move in the game. For the universal quantification is almost dual, so I quantify over gamma, so I give gamma as a up move, but then I have actually, because of the order of the game, to allow, actually the proponent cannot see the move played by the opponent before it is played, so, but he has to provide the function from gamma to u. And those operations in the category SAG gives operation on automata, which exist, and with the maybe nice property, I don't know, that every automaton with those operations induced by that can be seen as exists for all form over a deterministic automaton. So with that operation, I have this. Important point is that for non-deterministic automatons, the existential quantification computes the projection. One has to use the code non-deterministic automaton for the universal quantification to be complete. And there are further properties based on that. And now, if I have 1 minute to conclude. So I've presented categories on automata. So the important aspect was the monoidal closed structure that I needed to skip, I'm sorry. I have not shown how the simulation satisfy the deduction rule of the exponential modality of intuitionistic linear logic. So there are more into the game that what I have shown. I don't know whether it's interesting. And the goal for this model is to have a realizability model for MSO. So I'm currently investigating with a PhD student the case of MSO over infinite worlds, in which a lot of things of this model really trivialize. So in particular, to get a form of extraction which corresponds to what is performed by what is called church synthesis. And also there are things which are interesting, I think, to explore in the interpretation of the exponential. So it's very not likely that the exponential of that simulation could give a proper categorical exponential. But still, the kind of game I'm using, the zigzag games, can have exponential, which seems interesting. And there seems to be some correspondence also with what happens with simulation and reflection scheme. And I will stop here.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Yeah?
It's Colin. In the translation from MSO to automata, there are several steps, and in particular the simulation. I mean, it's not described. There is no step that corresponds to simulation.
Yeah, no, it is the second part that I've skipped.
Okay.
It is the part which corresponds to the on non-deterministic automata, you have contraction. Weakening is always possible, but then simulation really corresponds to the two problematic rules of the bank of intuitionistic clear logic, which are this one, which is easy. I mean, going from B to there is no. This one is easy. It amounts to go from the non-deterministic, from the simulation. The non-deterministic version of B to the B. This is easy to implement. And this rule, this one is the difficult part of the simulation theorem, which assume positional strategies. Actually, if all the automatons here are taken to be a parity automaton, then here we have a Rabin automaton, so the proponent always has a final state winning strategy, and this is what is used in that rule.
No more questions. Let's thank Colin again.